the premier sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes, and of course, I am not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim, how are you?
Doing good, Tony. Glad to be back here, of course.
Oh, yes, we're on the bi-weekly schedule, which it's kind of nice because now we have like all these information to talk about, all these breaking stories, which include the following, and probably the most important one of the night. Jordan Hall, the man, the myth, the legend, the one that me and Jim have been talking about for weeks on end, the one we predicted about way back in November when he showed up as a freshman on Hawk Hill. Yes, that Jordan Hall is transferring from St. Joe's. The news broke on April 28th, which I am not sure what day that is. Maybe that was a Monday. That was a Wednesday, so it's been over a week. And the news broke on April 28th. As I said, he would be leaving St. Joe's, and I believe on Tuesday, he made it official that he would be transferring to Texas A&M. So he's going to the SEC. He's leaving the Atlantic 10, and he's going to be missed is the first thing that comes to mind. But there is more to the story than just he didn't want to be for a player for Billy Lang. And I think we're going to get into that. I have a big monologue that we will go into. But before we do that, some of the other topics that we are going to discuss include the Sixers, which Jim had correctly predicted would be a number 1 seed. And I think we all agreed, me and him were texting back and forth. I saw the end of that Sixers schedule, the last 8 games, one of them, of the Sixers' last 8 games, only one of them are against a winning team. So the Sixers, who are, I think they're 1.5 games, and Jim, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're 1.5 games in first over the Nets.
2.
They're 2 full games, even better. 2 full games over the Nets, and the Sixers only need to play sub-500 teams. There's one of them that's in there that's not a sub-500 team, but the rest of them are. They play the Pelicans tomorrow. Jim, I'm actually going to the game tomorrow.
Oh, nice, Tony. Where are you sitting?
I think I don't know which section I am. I know I'm on the bottom row, and I'm in the 15th row from the court.
Oh, wow.
So I'm close.
Nice. It's going to be a fun game.
That is good. I get to see Zion.
I was supposed to see Zion, and then he got hurt his
last year.
Yeah. It's too bad for me, but good for you. I'm excited for you.
We'll report back with some Zion coverage and news. So we're going to talk about the 76ers. Really, we should be excited about them. And it is, and I'm excited about them as well. Joel Embiid, all of a sudden, he's back in the MVP conversation, so we'll get on to that later in the show. In addition, another thing that we need to cover, the Eagles drafted. There was a draft. The Eagles had a draft. The Jets had a draft. There were some interesting picks in there. Me and Jim, we're not going to give grades. I don't like that. What do we know, right? These players could be good or bad. We just frankly do not know if they're good or not. But we'll give some reflection on the draft because we can do that, and that is perfectly appropriate to do. And so that is the plan for tonight. Jordan Hall, Philadelphia 76ers, Eagles draft. Oh, and I almost forgot. The Phillies swept the Brewers, and all of a sudden, we're in that time of the year where the Phillies go on a nice 5-game win streak, then they lose 4, then they win 5, then they lose 4. That's just how baseball works. You go on these little streaks.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this team. You know, we've gone back and forth about whether this team's great, this team's going to be horrible, they're going to be a 500 team like they always are. Tony, we land on different sides about this, and this is just how the roller coaster of the season goes, and I think that we both feel I feel the valleys and you feel the
peaks.
The peaks, yes, exactly. So it's definitely, that's how the season always plays out. And, we're just going to have to keep going back and forth just like the Phillies do.
Oh, yeah. And this is how, I don't know if it's because the division is good or the division is bad, but the division has we're like all near 500. Every other division in baseball has like a 19, 20 win team already, which like the Giants with Cape Kapler. They're in first.
Our favorite.
They're in first of the whole NL, and they're like 19 and 12. And the Phillies and the Braves and the Nationals and the Mets, we're all floating around like 15 and 15, 14 and 16. All the NL East teams are right near each other. And I don't know if it's because I can't wait to see the numbers of the NL East and how they all play each other. They beat the crap out of one another. But when they leave the division or when they leave the National League to go to the American League for like a game or a series, how that plays out. I'm really interested to see, do we beat up on teams that are outside our division?
Right.
That will be an indicator of how deep we are.
The way the season's set up, we played a lot of NL East games front loaded.
We don't play the Mets after June.
Yeah, so I think one of the things about the NL East is it's so tight between those teams that's why you're seeing like a 500 record, because these teams are all pretty much just as good as each other. And that's why we're not going to see anybody really take the lead until they start playing outside of the NL East or outside of the NL. If we get some of those AL games, play the Yankees
100%.
or the Red Sox. Yeah.
Yep. Totally agree. Right. Oh, we play the Red Sox in 2 weeks, I think. So that's all of the good stuff that we're going to be covering on today's episode of Tony's Takes. If you're here for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to the show. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Of course, follow us on our Twitter account at Tonys_takes. Email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. All takes are guaranteed to be read on the show. Also, questions can be sent there as well. And that does it. Subscribe to YouTube. Oh, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. How could I forget that? Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and I guarantee you it will be read here on the show. Okay. Got all that good stuff out of the way. It's now time to talk about Jordan Hall, who Jim opened up the script today, and Jim makes the scripts before the show, and sometimes I hide little gems before I put them in the script. And when he shows up at my house, he opens up the Google Docs, and there's a book inside the Google Doc full of my thoughts and ramblings. And I know that Jim always can appreciate those. So here's a good one. This might be as good as my Phil Martelli one, because this monologue incorporates everything about St. Joe's basketball. Me being right about them, me being right about Billy Lang, the non-St. Joe's fans that want to cast out Billy Lang, that are always going after our boy Billy, and the ones who want to pass judgment when they frankly just do not know, and they like to laugh it off, and they think they're fun and cool because they run some other website or they tweet a lot and people think they're smart, but I would disagree, and they don't argue with anyone and they don't say anything different. They all just repeat the same takes and stances, and it's always fun when they come after St. Joe's, right? With the mob, I guess you would call it. So, as I said, let's go back to the beginning. And that on April 28th, I received a text from the former teammate of mine, former producer of the show, Tommy Higley, and Sean P. And the text included a tweet from the St. Joe's men's basketball account with the following statement attached. Quote, "We want to thank Jordan for his year competing for the story of St. Joe's basketball. After many thoughtful conversations discussing his life and future, we are supportive of his decision and wish him great success." I was befuddled. Plain and simple. I opened up my Twitter account to see people retweeting Jordan Hall's announcement in which he was declaring his intent to transfer from St. Joseph's University, saying, quote, "I feel that it is my best interest to leave the Philadelphia area for the remainder of my college career. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to Coach Billy Lang and everyone on Hawk Hill for your endless love and support. I will be entering the transfer portal, period." End of quote. And like that, St. Joe's most promising player was adding his name to the ever-growing list of NCAA transfers, which it might be going up to 2,000 at this rate. 2,000 players in the transfer portal. And for those who live under a rock, those who are unfamiliar, Jordan Hall was the 6'8" freshman point forward for St. Joe's basketball. He averaged 10 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists this season. Hall was a dynamic passer and scorer. The freshman was able to make his way onto the A10 All-Rookie team. In addition, Hall was a massive bright spot for St. Joe's and was going to be the cornerstone for the program that was on the ascent. However, as of April 28th, Hawk fans now have a program that is scrambling to find a new building block after this shocking departure. But to get a full picture of the story, we need to go back to the infamous prediction that I made here on this show, on Tony's Takes. Back in November of 2020, I had me and Jim had Tyler Cronin from the 3-Bid League pod on this YouTube show. During that program, I made the prediction that Jordan Hall would be a, quote, baby Ben Simmons for St. Joe's. My prediction shocked Tyler. In fact, I hate when I hit the mic. Sorry about that, folks. In fact, he went on the 3-Bid League the next week and reported my outrageous take for all of A10 fandom to hear, for all of A10 Twitter, for all of the people who listen to his podcast, for all the people who follow us on A10Talk.com. All of them got to see that outrageous take. That a little-known kid from Newman Goretti, from Little Philadelphia, was going to be a baby Ben Simmons, and some guy who just writes for A10 Talk, who no one really listens to, is making this outlandish prediction and felt so bold to do it with those who think they're the thought leaders of A10 Twitter, A10 basketball, and all of the above. But I did it. I had no problem doing it, because when I make a statement, I don't back down, and I don't make one that I don't fully believe in. And I would never say something that I knew I could be contradicted on later, and then say it knowing that could happen. If I do know that, I usually come out and I say, this could be wrong. But when I had Tyler on the show, I said definitively, this kid's baby Ben Simmons, and the rest of the A10 better watch out. At the time, I didn't have any ill will to those who thought I was crazy, though. I knew that it was a bold prediction to make about a freshman. However, I had known about Hall's skills for a few months and knew he had the building blocks and skills to be a major impact early in the season. As a local product of Philadelphia, I had heard the rumors around town that Hall had the, quote, it factor. The available online film of Hall showed a player with great height, ball control, and court vision. Anyone with 2 eyes and their ear to the ground could have made my prediction. However, like most freshmen, the majority of the A10 fan base was unfamiliar with him, and most of St. Joe's fan base was unfamiliar with him. They knew Hall was a solid recruit, but they did not understand the talent that was about to overtake Hawk Hill. Subsequently, Hall did take the A10 by storm. Jordan started out slow in his first few outings. However, the freshman had a breakout performance against Villanova where he had 17 points, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds. That Villanova team, by the way, was ranked at least 8th in the country, I believe, or 10th in the country at the time. Hall would go on to become an essential scorer and facilitator for the Hawks. Personally, if SJU had not had the month-long COVID pause and Ryan Daly injury, I believe Hall would have been A10 Rookie of the Year on a Hawks team closer to 500 than Billy Lang doubters would like to admit. St. Joe's flashed the potential of Billy Lang's scheme at the end of 2020 and 21 season thanks to Hall's performance and progression. The Hawks finished on a 4-1 run at the end of the year. The roster, which was at full strength, beat LaSalle twice, Richmond once, and Dayton once. Yes, I understand that's a small sample size. However, I never predicted this team would win the conference title. I just knew Coach Lang, with the talent on this roster, had the realistic expectation of being within the 8 to 10 range in the conference standings. And with Jordan Hall at the helm of this ship, he was able to accomplish that no problem, if everyone had been healthy. While Coach Lang was not able to convince Ryan Daly to stay, Lang did convince Taylor Funk to remain. Lang then went out and filled the biggest hole in the roster by grabbing 2 big men in the transfer portal. Obini, a 6'10 grad transfer from Vanderbilt, and Charles Coleman, a 7-foot transfer from ECU, were going to add depth to a roster that needed it. In addition, Coach Lang had added exciting recruits in Eric Reynolds and Kasper Kalchek. Players saw that 4-1 run. They saw Jordan Hall, and I guarantee you, Billy Lang made sure that Jordan Hall was the main part of his sales pitch to all the players I just said. Taylor Funk, Obina, Coleman, Reynolds, all of them saw Jordan Hall, and all of them knew how good this team could be if they got to play with a player who could pass the ball the way he did, who could score the ball the way he did, who had the size and the young talent that Jordan Hall was. St. Joe's was making serious progress on the path towards returning to a pedigree that is expected at Hawk Hill. The foster of Hall, Funk, Reynolds, Brown, Moore, Bishop, Kalchik, Coleman, Obina, and Forrest would have been striving for top 6 in a conference that was rebuilding depth. This potential roster would allow Lang to have a ton of variety in his lineups. Want to go big? Throw in Hall, Reynolds, Funk, Ubini, Coleman. Want to go small? Put in Reynolds, Brown, Moore, Forrest, and Hall at the center. Regardless of the lineup, Lang had the option to do it. Not to mention the bench depth that would always be present regardless of who started. Coach Lang looked to be establishing his regime at SJU and was ready to help the Hawks return to their status as the most prestigious and formidable program in the Atlantic 10. Too bad Jordan Hall's decision to transfer put those ideas to bed. All season long, especially on A10 Twitter, there have been anti-Billy Lang voices. Not to mention SJU fans and alumni aren't the only voices chiming in. Fans of other programs like to bloviate and act like they know everything about St. Joe's basketball. They open their Twitter app and fire off opinions on a program they have no investment in. They tweet out bad takes and little quips to gain Twitter clout. This is especially true in regards to Billy Lang. It appears that every Phil Martelli defender is out there patrolling the feed, looking to insert their hurt feelings from years ago. The Hall news was no different. As soon as the announcement was made, all of A10 Twitter was out in full force. They were all prepared to throw Coach Lang into the exterior darkness where there is gnashing and wailing of teeth. Just when I thought St. Joe's was moving on from the Phil and Billy argument, the uncomfortable conversation reemerged its ugly head. And it's a shame that these voices have a hard time appreciating the improvement Lang's Hawks had this year. Even with all the setbacks, I remember all the hype that was going around as Ryan Daly and Jordan Hall were taking over the final games of the season. Jim, do you remember that?
Oh, I do. It was so exciting. I mean,
and all the haters
edge
were
of my
quiet.
seat.
And all the haters were quiet.
Of course.
Unfortunately, Coach Lang just can't catch a break. While it is evident that Hall's departure is amicable and there are no hard feelings, it must be tough to be Coach Lang right now, who appears to be taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back constantly. On top of that, he has to deal with people from TV broadcasters to casual A10 fans who are continually comparing him to his predecessor. It is in my opinion that Coach Lang will never escape the constant comparison to Phil Martelli. As Phil's replacement, Coach Lang is too closely tied to the, quote, decision from 2019. Remember, Coach Lang had nothing to do with Phil's departure. He simply applied for the job once the spot was vacant. But that doesn't matter to people. On top of that, the university turned down Jameer Nelson as head coach, SJU's greatest player, to hire Lang. This will always be Coach Lang's cross to bear. Through no fault of his own, he replaced a beloved coach and beat out a beloved player for the position. The only way for Coach Lang to improve his reputation now is to win, and win a lot. However, with Jordan Hall gone, winning will be much harder for St. Joe's. So where can the program go from here? The good news is the team does have some talent to build around. As mentioned before, St. Joe's has 2 big men transferring in for the 21-22 season. In addition, SGU still has Taylor Funk, Cameron Brown, Ramir Moore, and Jack Forrest, who are all excellent contributors to the team. Finally, the most important person in all of this will have to be Eric Reynolds. I thought St. Joe's was out of the woods when Jordan Hall took the burden of learning how to run the offense after the Ryan Daly injury. One of the hardest aspects of college basketball is finding and teaching a skilled ball handler how to run the offense. St. Joe's paid that price in 2020 and 21. Now, St. Joe's will need to restart the program again. Eric Reynolds will need to learn to run the offense without the help of Jordan Hall. While Cam Brown can help alleviate some of that pressure, St. Joe's finds itself once again going through the arduous task of having a freshman learn the point guard position. I pray that we all get the same progress and results with Reynolds as we did with Hall. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't upset or angry after hearing the news that Jordan Hall transferred. To hear that the player I was fully invested in wanted to leave Hawk Hill was devastating. My correct prediction on Jordan Hall's talent gave me great pride. In addition, I simply enjoyed watching him play. It would be easy for me and St. Joe's fans to be petty and not forgive him. However, where would that get us? Jordan made his decision, and there is no changing that. No matter how much we complain, the reality is we need to thank him for what he did last year, wish him well, and say goodbye as we go our separate ways. St. Joe's fans need to look to the future with the players the team has now. The improvement of Taylor Funk, Jordan Hall, and Cameron Bowden this year should give solace to the fact that Billy Lang appears to be able to develop players over time. As fans, we should still expect this team to win. This will be a pivotal year for Lang to make St. Joe's a competitive force in Atlantic 10. Personally, the future of St. Joe's basketball does not worry me. Coach Lang has shown me enough. I have confidence the program can succeed with what we have. Coach Lang proved he can make midseason adjustments and develop talent throughout the season, as he did this year. On top of that, his recruiting skills have been top-notch. I agree with the critics that Coach Lang needs to prove himself for 21 and 22. What separates me from the critics is that I believe he can do it. In the end, the potential setback this transfer decision has on the outlook of the 21-22 season is not what bothers me. What bothers me is missing out on the potential of Jordan Hall. I fully believe that at some point Jordan Hall would have been A-10 Player of the Year if he stayed. Jordan Hall had the talent to put himself among the greats of St. Joe's basketball. It's those types of what-ifs that will drive me mad when waiting for November to return. Jim?
Well, hearing the news of Jordan Hall leaving just upset me, really. I mean, we've talked about this the whole year. He was the future of this team. I was excited just as much as you were to watch St. Joe's next year. While last year I wasn't really thrilled with how the season played out, with the losses pretty much all in a row. I forget how many in a row it was, but it was a lot. That took some excitement out of my day to watch St. Joe's. But knowing what the future had in store with Jordan Hall and then the other transfers that were coming in, we talk about it, and I would be excited again. I would feel like I was back in my junior year when we lived together and we were watching St. Joe's play in the tournament, staying up late because they're playing a West Coast game. That's what the level of excitement that I was getting thinking about this next season. But now with him leaving, it's just how much more can Billy Lang take? And I don't know. When you're trying to build a house from scratch, you're of course going to have some setbacks. But it just seems like it's constantly happening over and over again. Like they can't get the ground. And maybe that Coach Lang's process is a 5-year plan, and it's not really a 3-year plan or a 4-year plan. I don't know, but it's disheartening. That's for sure. Just to see Jordan Hall go into the transfer portal. It's too much for me.
I don't even know if he's got 5 years. And that's the problem, right? Who knows if Coach Lang has even 3 years at St. Joe's? And that's what worries me. This was the golden ticket. This was Lang's guy. You get one. You get one to build a reputation around and build a reputation off of. And he just walked out the door.
Is there any speculation as to why he left?
So the announcement said the following, right? And for those at home, this is the key point. Hold on, this is not the. It's better with the image because I can see it better. This was what Jordan Hall said. Quote, "For personal reasons, I feel that it." I'm going to read it the way it was written because it wasn't that good. For personal reasons, I feel that I feel that is in my best interest to leave the Philadelphia area for the remainder of my college career. And it was in his iPhone notes, which I don't know. I would have put it in a Word document with a watermark and all the special stuff.
I feel like he thinks he's too good to play in the Philadelphia area.
No, I think it's something personal, and he needs to leave Philly because he's from Philly. His family's in Philly.
Really?
And he's leaving Philly. He's leaving all of those people.
He thinks he's in a bad environment that won't lead him to be successful in basketball?
I don't want to assume anything, but when I saw that, I personally, this is my personal opinion, it felt like it was like family issues.
Mm.
You know, he's from Philadelphia. He's local to Philadelphia, and he's saying, for personal reasons, I need to leave the Philadelphia area. If you didn't like St. Joe's, wouldn't you say, I need to leave St. Joe's? It's not for me.
Yeah, that's true.
But him saying he's not going to Villanova. He never looked at schools locally. He didn't look at Maryland. He didn't look at any programs around here. He went to Texas, A&M. He didn't go to Duke. Texas A&M isn't a basketball program, not even in the SEC.
Interesting.
Texas Tech is a little bit better. Texas is a little bit better, but not A&M.
Well, couldn't he just stay on campus all year round? Couldn't he just I don't know. I just wish that we could have kept him.
And if he was going to transfer, you would have known he was doing. He would have announced it right after the season. That's when all those guys. When you know you're going to transfer, you know you're going to transfer because you don't like St. Joe's, right?
The interesting part is St. Joe's is obviously not making him sit out the next year.
You can't.
Oh, you can't do that.
He's
now?
allowed to just leave.
Oh, really?
That's why there's so many kids in the transfer portal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Because if it is for personal reasons, then obviously I have to be supportive. But at the same time, as a fan of St. Joe's, I wanted the best team possible on the court next year, and I don't think it's the best team without him.
No, it isn't. It's not the best team. They're not going to be good. It's unfortunate. But this is what we're left with. There's nothing we can do. Jim, final thoughts before we move on. That really dominated the show, so I don't want to sit on it too long.
I hope we can get somebody like Jordan Hall out of the transfer portal. Is it too late?
Possibly, but you know what? I'm excited by the fact that we have two centers coming in, and we have Eric Reynolds. We are going to have a guy who can score and dribble the basketball.
Sure.
So that things won't be too bad. Cameron Brown can run point guard. It's not ideal, but we're just going to have to deal with it. And Taylor Funk's good. We saw last year Taylor Funk be really good, and that's at least we have him.
I'm actually really excited to see how Jack Forrest plays next year.
Yeah. He's like another guy who just scores off the ball for us. And I'm telling you, if Billy Lang is smart, he will pick an easier part opening schedule for the Hawks, and he will get wins under his belt. That's what Ashley Howard did, and it works. Just get a couple wins under your belt. The fans want to go to games that the Hawks win and feel good about it. Of course, you want to sneak in a good game. Of course. But we should be looking at teams that we can bully around, more teams to bully around this year.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely can't have the hard schedule we had last year because he's just going to dig himself a hole he can't get out of. Okay, Jim. What would you rather talk about? The Phillies or the Sixers?
We got to talk about the Phils. I mean, we just had a great game today.
So the Phillies sweep the Brewers. Who are a good team, and we're ahead of them in the standings for the National League.
And yeah, now because of the sweep, now we got a game up on everybody in the NL East. We went from 13-15 to 17-15. So now the whole team, when you look at those two records, 13-15 versus 17-15, you're like, it's a totally different team in your head, right? Just on paper. So it was such a big thing to sweep them 4 games and to propel ourselves into first, and just to say, like, NL East, come and get us, because we're here to play, and yeah, maybe we fell off a little bit for the middle 10 games there, but we're back, and we're playing some good baseball.
So I think the team to be scared of in the National League is the Braves still. I don't think it's the Mets. I
have not been on the Mets train.
I feel like the Mets
since the beginning of the season.
I feel like the Mets only beat the Phillies, and that's it.
Yes, that's what it feels like.
We struggle against the Mets.
And also, they've had injury issues. DeGrom is only just coming back, and by the way, he's having a heck of a year. I mean, they're comparing him to some names that are just historically great.
Randy Johnson.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see that from the Mets, but at the same time, they're really not that good of a team. It's just when DeGrom plays.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of greats that. So they're saying he's better than, like, I'm thinking of recent great players, like when Justin Verlander was at his pinnacle. Are they saying he's better than that?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'll pull up some stats on DeGrom.
Give me some names that they're comparing him to. I think that's what I'm missing. Because I could say, Justin Verlander was a great pitcher. But is he among the greats of all time?
Like
no.
Pedro Martinez?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was something about like through 33 games to start a season, his ERA was like lower than Pedro's. Like Sandy Koufax, like crazy names that are coming up about DeGrom. So it's really, it makes you feel like you're a part of history. That's what I really like about the game of baseball. Because when you see names like that, then you're like, wow, I'm really witnessing greatness right now.
Mm.
And while the game has changed, it's still cool to see them compared to those players.
They used to say that about Roger Clemens. Then the doping.
Of course, yeah. I don't know if there's any. I can't speculate to that.
I don't think. You look at the way he throws, the mechanics, the way he throws his whole body behind every pitch, and he's so long, right? That's what I love about great pitchers, how tall and long they are. They absolutely can just, they're able to like pivot the body and just launch the ball off the foot. So
and speaking of great pitchers, how about today? Zach Wheeler, complete game shutout.
Steven Daniels goes, Wheeler is our number one.
He is our ace. He is. There's no doubt about it.
He's better than Nola.
Nola, I made this statement, I think, on the show maybe a year ago, that the stars that we had, and now I'm looking like a fool with it, but the stars that we had probably 3 years ago all had one really, really great season and never, ever played to that level again.
So let's name them.
I was talking about Embiid, because up until this year, Embiid did not play up until the 2017 season. He didn't play anywhere near that. Aaron Nola has not come back to the Cy Young level play that he did.
With Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid played that well.
I think Embiid averaged 24 points that season.
Yeah, but that was because you have Tobias and Jimmy. They're brand new guys who's sharing the ball a lot more.
I was just talking about MVP like numbers that he put up in 17 or whatever.
Understood.
Carson Wentz back then, he had the
classic
MVP type season and then never performed to that level again.
That one's obvious.
And then you could say the same thing. I said Giroux back then, and he's kind of been more consistent than the other guys. But the point is still there. Aaron Nola is not the number one, and I think he just had one spectacular season.
And we might be seeing that with Carter Hart.
Sure.
I think that's even a better comparison, right? Last year he breaks out, and this year
the Flyers have been a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair enough to say. I feel that Philadelphia tends to have that issue where we have a player that shines for one season and they never show up again. Guess what, Joel?
Which is always great. I just love having that over Philadelphia sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a great feeling.
Of course, you're so excited to go see these amazing players that they bring out to you.
Yeah.
But Joel Embiid's proven that wrong, obviously, this year.
Of course.
And
Joel Embiid has solidified himself as a player who is actual, genuine, transcendent.
Yeah.
He is in the conversation of Allen Iverson now, in the sense that he will always be famous. He will never be doubted of how good he is. And regardless if he wins the MVP or not, the team is playing well enough this year where he will always be considered that, because he's revolutionizing the game like AI did, and that's what helps put him in a certain spot. He's bringing the big man back. Allen Iverson made the small, skilled player look like an easy thing to do in the NBA. And that's what makes those guys important.
I think if you don't have AI, then you don't have players like Chris Paul.
Correct.
Right.
And now but what will be, you could say, yeah, Jokic is the same way too. But I think Joel Embiid will always be the poster of This is what a great center looked like after not having great centers for 10 years in the National Basketball Association.
The thing I love about Embiid, which is different than Jokic, is Embiid has had his struggles. And he's had to persevere through
Real
things.
underdog.
Yeah, and there's nothing more Philadelphia than that. Embiid has had...
And he embraces it like no one else.
And
that's what makes him... will always make him infamous. It's why Charles Barkley is beloved. It's why Dr. J is beloved. Those guys own what they were. Dr. J, cool cat, he owned it.
Sure.
He dressed like a baller. Charles Barkley, loudmouth, defended Philadelphia, defends Philadelphia to this day, is beloved by the city of Philadelphia.
Sure. Barkley, hothead on the court, of course. Never.
People love that.
Once he was on there, the fire was never out. It was always lit. Embiid, I just find so interesting because it's not like we haven't had a great center before. We have, but he's just, he's so remarkable, multi-skilled. He can do everything that you can imagine from any player, and he's humongous. That's the thing that just blows my mind. Maybe his ball handling is pretty horrible, but other than that, what's wrong with his game? He's not lazy anymore. I don't see a lazy Embiid. 2 years ago, the last 2 years, I've seen him get lazy in the fourth quarter. This is a different guy, and like you said, he's transcending even who he was before this season.
So let's bring it back, though, to your original point of what you were making. The three players. The Carson Wentz, the Aaron Nola, and the Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid being the only one who was able to bounce back after the breakout season.
Correct.
What does Aaron Nola have to do to get back to that then? Because Joel Embiid just proved it is possible. Now, I think Joel Embiid was starting at a much higher spot than Aaron Nola was. I think Joel Embiid was a more highly regarded player. But that doesn't mean that Aaron Nola still can't find himself into the conversation of being the top 5 in the NL.
Sure.
I don't need him to be the number 1 in the NL.
So my thing with Aaron Nola, and Infection Night will probably back me up on this, but Nola is a hot weather player, right? So in the midst of the summer when it's muggy and humid, just like Louisiana conditions where he's from, he's going to play great. He has to learn how to play in the late March, early April games.
And in the October games, which are going to be more important.
Yeah, exactly. So he needs to ride the Zach Wheeler momentum. Obviously, Wheeler's the best pitcher on the team. I think he's a little bit older than Nola, if I'm correct. They should just be working together and really just, he could learn a few things from Wheeler about just staying calm. And you can tell when the wheels come off for Aaron.
Get it? Wheeler?
Yeah, Wheeler, yeah. When the wheels come off.
Sorry, that caught you off guard.
When the wheels come off, he just seems to fall apart in these games. And when Wheeler lets up a 4-run first inning, he was locked down for the next 6. And the Phillies ended up losing that game against the Mets. But the point is still there. Wheeler can settle into a rhythm, even if things went really, really bad in the first inning. He can settle into a rhythm and still give his guys a shot to win the game. Nola cannot seem to find that. If he's off, he is off. He doesn't even throw his fastball because the fastball's tailing too much, so he starts going to off-speed pitches, and then players just have a day on him. And that's the issue and that happens in the cold games mostly. But then when he gets to the hot games, his fastball always seems to be on. He gets enough spin rate on it, and everything looks right for him. So it's just he's got to learn to stay calm and be locked in, come back to settling into the game.
Has he thought about using more pine tar?
Yeah. Yep.
Has that thought occurred to him?
Maybe it has, but
that's interesting. Why do you think it's because of the cold weather? Because he just can't get his arm warmed up enough? He's just not used to it? It's tight too early?
He said things about like he can't grip the ball as well. Remember when the baseballs changed a couple years ago where the seams got smaller? Like
right.
The baseball became more round.
Yeah.
Yeah, the seams you couldn't grip onto as much. I know that was an issue for him, and I think he's slowly figured that out a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know why he can't seem to just settle in after. You let up a 2-run home run. So what? That's fine. Just don't.
It's gonna. There's so many home runs in baseball. It's just gonna happen.
Just don't let it become 6 or 5 or 7.
It's
whatever.
all the great. DeGrom gives up home runs. You know what makes him great is what you just said. He doesn't give up another one. He just locks in.
Same thing with Stroman too. Like there was a couple games in this last month that I saw where Stroman was pitching against us. We got all on him, like all of them. We got 2-run home runs against him or something like that. And, of course, Stroman, he's kind of a head case to begin with, but he still seems to figure out how to hold us to 3 runs. Still figures it out. And that's what Nola seems to just lack, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I want to go back to DeGrom because I'm just thinking about it, Jim. It's true because I did watch him play a couple times this year against the Phillies. Those are the games I actually sat down and watched. And when you watch DeGrom, it's like, yeah, he'll give up a solo home run. He never puts more than one guy on base. If there is another guy on base, he never throws it anywhere where a home run could be hit because he's just that good. He could put it on the outside, no problem, and it's still called a strike compared to everyone else. But that's what makes him great is, he shakes one off, but he can keep going, and he knows how to make sure that he doesn't give up more than one at a time because that makes it more reasonable for the rest of the team to play, especially for a team like the Mets who knows if they're any good at scoring.
Tony, think about this. He's only let up 2 earned runs this whole season, 35 innings. 2 earned runs.
That is ridiculous. Anything else you want to say about the Phils? Maybe your boy, Albert Pujols? Is that who you're pushing for now, Jim?
Oh, yeah. So, I wanted to bring this up and see what you thought about this, but
bring it up.
Albert Pujols, just released by the Angels today.
Which is incredible for me.
10-year deal. They didn't want to pay the last $25 million on him.
Think how long that deal was. Unbelievably long.
Well,
I remember when he signed it.
We're talking about transcendent players.
He is transcendent.
We're talking about number 5 all-time home run leader right now.
Number
5.
He's going to keep going.
He's 29 away from number 4. There's no way that Albert Pujols doesn't land on somebody else's team. He's got 5 home runs this year already. And there's been 30 games?
Now, do you grab him if you're the Phils and go, this is, okay, so I'm not the biggest baseball strategist, Jim. You know this. I'm just getting into baseball in the grand scheme of my sports knowledge. If you're the Phillies, do you grab Pujols and go, you're a DH when we face AL teams, and that's about it?
I say, I would love him to be like a backup first baseman for us or something, but
he's not starting.
He's honestly not a good fit for the Phillies. As much as I would love to, if the NL had the DH, I'd say let's sign him right now.
Right.
But he's going to have to go to an AL team. He doesn't provide anything defensively of value. He's 40. I think he's 41, so he doesn't move. He's not as quick, and he's kind of a big guy to begin with. So it stinks. I don't think it's the right fit for the Phillies. I would love him. If we do get him, then you're displacing Reese again, just like we did with Santana. And that was a bad scenario then. Reese playing left field.
No. And that's the thing. It's like I say, get him as DH when you face AL teams. How often is that happening?
I think we play maximum 10 games against AL teams in this season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have 3 against Boston, 2 against New York. It's not a lot.
So there's your problem.
3 against Toronto. So yeah, it's somewhere around 10 games.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was a fun little idea to mull over, but it doesn't sound like it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to go to an AL team, and I hope he goes to an AL team against the Angels, because he's definitely upset about it. He's been vocal about how upset he is. And
so what, like the A's sign him or something?
Yeah. Oh, I would love him on the A's. That'd be cool.
I don't even know if the A's are good this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I never follow the A's. It's the one team I never even hear anything about.
The A's feel like the type of team where they pop up and they're like, oh wow, they're a really hot wild card team that no one knew about.
The Moneyball team.
Yeah, that was on last night. I was watching a little bit of it.
The A's are 19-14.
See, they're a sneaky team. They're sneaky. Oh, see, the thing is they're with the Astros. So the Astros. How about the Astros? For those who didn't watch, the Astros getting booed at Yankee Stadium. Did you see that, Jim?
I did see that. Yeah,
that
I saw
was funny.
A quick clip. Yeah.
It sounded like the whole stadium was full. That's how loud the boos got.
New Yorkers.
Yeah,
pretty
they're
loud
crazy.
People.
Rory was probably booing them. We know that former co-host Rory, major Yankees fan, was definitely, I guarantee you he thought about going to that game at least. Jim, let's move on to the football scenario, and let's go to this little story. Apparently, for those who didn't know, Adam Schefter, who is an ESPN insider, had made the announcement that Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers wanted to leave Green Bay. And this was on draft night. Okay, this is when the Packers, you make this, Schefter tweets this out. He's a reporter now. He tweets this out on draft night, the single most important night for the team, a team that never gets free agents. Tweets out that the star quarterback wants to leave. This is Schefter, who works for ESPN, now coming on the Dan Patrick Show, which I believe is NBC Sports, and saying that his reporting was not based on anything and that he himself had pretty much pulled it out of thin air. Let's play the clip. This is Schefter on the Dan Patrick Show.
The funny part about it is that I've heard people say, Aaron Rodgers wanted that out before the draft. I can assure you Aaron Rodgers did not want that out before the draft. I've had people say the Green Bay Packers planted that. It was a very pro-Packers story.
Yeah.
I can assure you the Green Bay Packers didn't plant that. When people guess at where stories come from, more often than not, they're usually wrong. And in this case, they're wrong. This was an accumulation all during the offseason of just listening to people talk and observing. And if we go back to the NFC Championship game that the Green Bay Packers lost at home, did we not hear Aaron Rodgers after that game talk about his level of unhappiness, if you will, uncertainty for the future? Just go back and listen to that press conference, and it sounds almost like he's saying goodbye to Green Bay.
Almost accumulation of stories. Almost sounds like it. Go back and listen to the tape. Adam Schefter. I know. Who am I? I'm just some guy in my basement. And you are a fancy reporter for ESPN, which I'm surprised they even have reporters anymore. All they do is spin. Spin, spin, spin. How can you, as a reporter, go out there and go, it's an accumulation of rumors, but you can't even put your finger on a source? Oh, I heard it from Aaron Rodgers himself. Carson Wentz said so many things. I didn't write a piece the next day and go, Carson Wentz is leaving the Philadelphia Eagles because of an accumulation of discomfort that we all have heard. We all heard it. We all assumed it, but that doesn't make it true. Just because Aaron Rodgers thinks that he wants to leave doesn't make the story true, doesn't make it an accumulation. You reported it like the way that Adam Schefter had reported the story, it sounded like him saying, Aaron Rodgers told me he is ready to leave Green Bay. And instead, it sounds that Adam Schefter said or tweeted this out and reported it based on his assumptions, based on what we all heard 3 months ago. So he acts like he's just regurgitating the facts that we all knew. But that's not true. It doesn't make it true. It was never true. You're just tweeting everyone's theory. Everyone has the same theory. We all heard the same words. You don't have any inside scoop. And yet you reported this story as if you did have the inside scoop, as if you did have the authority. And honestly, all it was you clearly making it up. Because if you didn't have the source's name, if you didn't have the actual facts behind the story, you as a reporter should not be tweeting that out then. Just because you think there's a hunch and a hint and a player saying something that you think we all can imagine, well, that doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it worth reporting. And it makes you a liar, Jim.
Isn't this the second time that we've heard of Adam Schefter kind of making something up?
He made this. This is made up. He made it up. He said that he's taking something that we all heard. Oh, didn't we all hear? He sounds discomfortable. He doesn't sound comfortable at all. Discomfortable. He sounds uncomfortable at Green Bay. That means he doesn't want to be there.
There was definitely a story.
A equals B must equal C.
Yeah, there was definitely a story that he like frauded not that long ago. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
he cannot be considered the Mr. Insider if that's how he conducts himself without a source.
Everybody always thought that he was like the Woj of football, but now I'm baffled at kind of how his reputation has gone down in the last couple months. I don't know where. Maybe.
Do you think ESPN put pressure on him to say something, and then they'll just be like, "Oh, if you fall back on it," like ESPN didn't even. This is me guessing, but why didn't Adam Schefter make this announcement on ESPN? Why is he making it on the Dan Patrick Show, which is on NBC Sports Philadelphia, and not carried on the network that he goes to? Why isn't he correcting himself on the record on his network?
I wonder if teams like lobby to him to like make certain comments. Like, I don't know if the Packers are trying to get rid of Rodgers. I don't know why that would be a thing, but I don't know. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe there's some higher up for Green Bay that's whispering in Adam Schefter's ear and says, let's make Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable. And just by Schefter saying Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable, he doesn't want to be in Green Bay, now Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be in Green Bay because it's some toxic thing going on.
I guess going back to my original point, you didn't have a source. You reported it like it was given to you, tipped off by a source within the system, and instead you made it up. And you're saying your justification for making it up is saying we all knew about it. We all knew about it.
Yeah,
and that's not an excuse. That is a lie. You're lying.
It was speculation at the end of the season. People were like, "Oh man, Rodgers getting old. Maybe he's going to leave Green Bay."
Right. Colin Cowherd doesn't go out there and go, "I have a source that says Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable." Colin Cowherd goes, "Yeah, Aaron looks uncomfortable. Maybe they're going to think about it. The Jeopardy money. It looks good. Blah 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 blah." Mm-hmm. But he never goes out there and goes, "Yeah, I heard that Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable from a source. I'm the insider for the NFL at ESPN."
Well, the problem is, and you see this a lot in modern media, is one outlet will just say, "Oh, this is speculation of what's going on," and then next person goes, "Oh, source. That's my source."
Yes.
And then,
Jim, we know many things.
Then down the road, another person says, "Oh, that person's my source," and that person's my source.
And then all of a sudden, you're being impeached.
Yeah. Oh. Didn't want to go there, but all right. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, that is what they do. They circle it around, and then they go, "It's you can't even discern who created the rumor. Now it's just a rumor flying around. Washington Post got it. Oh, Wall Street Journal reported it. Then the Washington Post goes, the Wall Street Journal reported it."
Sure.
In auditing, that's called kiting. When you kite a check.
Oh, wow.
And you cash it at one bank, then you cash it at another bank, you cash it at another bank, you cash it at another bank. And it's literally like this one bank account that has money. You're saying it has money, and then you're pulling all these checks out at once, and you're pretty much making this fake kite or network based off one check. It's like you make one check look like five.
It's like the Ponzi scheme of media.
Yes. No, that is a Ponzi scheme. You're making one source look like five, and then you can't trace it back to the original one.
Yeah.
And then it's just there. You're just looking at it.
And it turns out that it's all just built on speculation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that definitely is what it feels like here in this situation.
It's ridiculous. But you know what's more ridiculous? Thinking that Rush is worse than Van Halen.
Ooh.
Jimmy, would you agree with that statement?
Do I think that Rush is worse than Van Halen? No.
You think Rush is better than Van Halen?
Rush certainly has a lot of talent, but Van Halen,
Jimmy.
Van Halen has possibly the greatest guitarist of all time.
No, they don't.
Possibly they do.
But he's not. And that's my point.
He's definitely in the conversation.
He's in the conversation.
Rush has
the greatest drummer of all time.
The greatest drummer, no doubt about it. Nobody can even question it. Neil Peart, greatest drummer.
Not Keith Moon.
No.
Not John Bonham.
Well, John Bonham.
See, this is the problem. All of a sudden, Led Zeppelin creeps in. Led Zeppelin slowly creeps into this conversation because you go, "Oh yeah, Jimmy Page." Like I can make an argument that Jimmy Page is better than Eddie Van Halen. Because there's four great guitarists. It's Eddie Van Halen, it's Jimmy Page, it's Jimi Hendrix, and it's Eric Clapton.
I like that list.
Those are the four where you're like, we're going to put these ahead of everyone else, but then it becomes really tough picking one. And I guarantee you there are better guitarists than all four of those guys, but they're not as popular. Like I'm sure
they
that
might not
there's
have
some
done as much to music.
Right, they might not have been innovative.
Like Hendrix is like what he's done to the music world is,
and this is the problem with Rush.
Unmatched.
Rush's guitarist is just not better than those guys.
Rush is,
but he's good. That's the thing.
They're like a niche of the rock world. You know, they're not.
Are they?
They're not loved by everybody. It's unfortunate because they should be. They should be loved.
It's because those lyrics are bad.
And Geddy's
those are weird.
Geddy's voice is unique. It's
some people
unique.
don't like it. Others love it.
Yeah,
they love his voice.
Well, it's like it's what cult followings are like. You know, when you really love something, like you really, really love it.
I really love it.
Yeah,
I'm a big buyer into the Rush all of a sudden. And that's why I'm bringing it up.
all the musicians mesh really well together in Rush, and that's
Yes.
the biggest thing. Where
And instrumentally, I think that it is the great band because they're always playing something complex, but it fits like a puzzle. It's so nice.
the band never really changed either, I don't think. And here, that's where Van Halen loses to Rush. Rush has always been Rush, but
Right.
Van Halen had David Lee Roth or Hagar.
Yep.
So
Sammy Hagar not better than David Lee Roth.
yeah, no, it was really bad. But the thing that Van Halen was so good for was just Eddie.
Right.
And that's why I think Van Halen is less Van Halen and more Eddie than anything.
That's why it's called Van Halen.
Yeah,
'Cause he's Eddie Van Halen.
exactly.
And then you have little old Led Zeppelin creeping up behind. Another band that was always the same.
Yeah.
Greatest guitar solo ever.
You got Pink Floyd too.
Oh, no. Those guys are weird. They're bad. They're lame.
Oh man.
I think I understand that Rush is not the greatest band of all time. But I'm just saying, when you listen to them and you just listen to the actual music, not the singing or the songwriting, you go, wow, those guys, each one of them were so technically spotless in all the songs they recorded.
Also, out of all the bands that you listen to, when you listen to Rush, I don't know, I get the feeling like I'm at the show when I'm listening to Rush.
Oh yeah, with all the little synthesizers
Yeah.
and chimes.
Do-do-do-do-do.
I think they're the most polished band.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they're just really, you listen to some Led Zeppelin or the Who, and it's just like, oh, it's not as polished because it's not, that wasn't a thing. There weren't computers the way they were, and there was a lot more error.
Sure, and most of them got their money off of like just yelling into the microphone and going,
Yeah.
like Robert Plant. Just like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. I don't know. I was just thinking about this as we wrap up today's show. It was just, I've really been listening to a ton of Rush. After Rush Limbaugh was gone, I had to fill the void with a different Rush in
Different kind of Rush.
on my 12 to 3 slot.
You were getting a rush listening to Rush.
Thinking about Rush. Jim, let's do something different. You're not ready for this, but give me one bold prediction for the upcoming week or two before our next show. Anything to keep an eye out from your end in the sports world?
Upcoming prediction.
Do you want me to give mine first?
I will give mine.
Okay.
I don't know if this is really bold. I think it is. Nick Maton will be the starting center fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies
Okay.
for the rest of the season.
Okay. So who's going to move? Does that mean McCutcheon's out?
Odubel's out.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That was Jim's prediction. I liked it. That was exactly what I was looking for. I'm looking for something that's a little different and outside the box. I'm going to make a prediction, Jim, and I don't think you're going to like it. I think the Sixers are going to be closer to the 2 seed than we like.
We got 6 games left.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. There's just something inside of me that says the Sixers try to get too cute and start resting guys, and I get worried.
I'm worried about the Magic. We played 2 games against the Magic, and
They always got our number.
It's just a trap game for
And that's
us.
what I'm saying. We're going to be closer to the 2 seed than we'd like. I still think there'll be a 1 seed, but I know in the beginning of the show I was going, oh, we are so close to the 1, and we got all these easy games remaining. I have a feeling that someone's going to try to get cute. They're going to try to rest guys that shouldn't be rested, and all of a sudden, me and Jim are texting each other at 7 at night, worrying the day before the playoffs.
We have a hope.
Why?
The Nets have to play the Mavericks tonight and the Nuggets their next game, and then they play a whole bunch of losing teams. But they have to play 2 tough games.
Okay.
And we only have to play 1.
But I have a feeling we're going to drop some easy games. That's the whole point of my prediction.
Oh.
We're going to drop easy games, which isn't something I feel good about reporting on.
I'm just hoping that we go up 3 games and then we can rest and not worry about it.
Well, a man can dream. Jim, thanks for being on today's show. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, good show.
And for all of those listening to us on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe and double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. And if you missed the live show, make sure to listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Just search Tony's Takes. You'll see the beautiful logo and listen to the show. And if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and it's a written review with the 5 stars, I guarantee you we will read it out loud here on the show. Well, for me and Jim, really do appreciate everyone spending their Thursday with us. We're all going to get through the Jordan Hall news together. St. Joe's basketball will be okay. And if St. Joe's basketball is just depressing you too much, go look at Sixers basketball because we're gearing up for the playoffs. It's going to be excellent, excellent basketball to watch them play. And I really am excited to see them potentially bring a trophy back to Philadelphia. So while there is bad news in the college basketball world for the followers of Tony's Takes and St. Joe's basketball, there is potential good news with the Joel Embiid MVP potential and a Sixers championship potential out there in the NBA. So cheer up. Keep your eyes open for that. Well, as I said, for me and Jim, really do appreciate everyone listening to today's episode, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week right here on Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.